Hey guys, here we are, the Quiggin Out MMA Podcast. As you can tell, it's daylight outside instead of the nighttime episodes, and I am joined by just an amazing friend of the show, 6th-degree Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and real, true friend and great person, Master Ricardo Liborio. How we doing, sir?
Oh, so I'm good, man. It's so good to see you.
Absolutely.
I'm so thankful for you being doing this. You know, this is so cool. You've been involved with this thing for a long time. I'm glad that you took this. And I heard that was your fiancée, actually. Right? It was your girlfriend who actually made you do it. So
maybe
we gotta thank her that you're actually doing it.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So,
it's good to know that.
It's fantastic because, you know, it's a chance to get to talk to everybody. With everything that's going on in the world right now, the world's starting to finally kind of open back up. You know, it's a way for people to communicate, but, you know, pass the time and not just be sitting at home, you know, bored. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the show as much as I'm making it. So.
Oh, man, I know everybody is, like I am. So, I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
It's good to be here.
We're going to do this in a couple parts, just because of time constraints, but really what I wanted to do was go back, and we talked about this a little bit before, you know, the show got started. You know, we were talking about how close jiu-jitsu really is to MMA and, you know, everything that happened back in 1993, and I provided you with a revelation that you didn't even think about. But in 1993, you were 26 years old and you had a black belt already.
Yeah, I was not. 1993 is the year that I got my black belt. Yeah, you're right. That means that I'm old. Holy moly, man. I'm old to dust.
I won't tell you how old I was in 1993.
You're probably just a baby, probably. But yes, and we're talking about, it's funny to talk about this because going back in time, in 1991, there was a big event that happened in Brazil that changed a lot of things. What was that? 1991 is when they have the Vale Tudo Challenge in between Jiu-Jitsu and Luta Livre.
Ooh.
This is very important. Why is it a mark? It's a mark because it was the first time that Jiu-Jitsu actually got together against a common adversary, which was the Luta Livre. And Carlson Gracie was the person training the Jiu-Jitsu guys. And this was massive for a couple of reasons, but that was the first time that you see guys like Marcelo Bering and Fábio Gurgel and Leonardo Castelo Branco, Travin, and a bunch of other guys that used to compete against Carlson Gracie's team guys, and they're all training in the same room for Vale Tudo. That's when Murilo as his debut, Walid Ismail, and there was a bunch of guys, and all those guys together, they were training by Carlson Gracie, who made some huge. That was a big step to unite the sport of jiu-jitsu. The very important aspect of this is that was the first time that this was televised on the prime time TV.
Wow.
There is this TV channel called Global, which is the biggest TV channel that there is, and it was in live TV. And as you can imagine, at the time, there was really not Vale Tudo on TV. This was really small. 1991 was shock for Brazil because now they were 9 o'clock at night. Imagine this, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. See those guys butt head and blood going everywhere, and it was very shocking for everybody. It was news in every newspaper in the day after. But at the same time, Jiu-Jitsu won by a big avalanche, you know, in numbers. Jiu-Jitsu won everything. And the second aspect is every teenager kid wanted to do Jiu-Jitsu after that. It was massive for Jiu-Jitsu. This really was the time that it was a big change for Jiu-Jitsu at the time. It got out of this underground group of guys to turn into something much bigger. Because now every kid wanted to be part of this. And it just grew in popularity. In 1993, UFC came in. But don't forget this, the Carlson Gracie team also, they has the shift into Jiu-Jitsu with the gi, and now Vale Tudo, preparing for training more no gi, preparing for Vale Tudo. because opportunities started showing up all over the world. And to 1993, UFC came in, and it was, it was a big success, and you can see that till right now. But it was very linked to jiu-jitsu, not just because of this 1991 thing, but the whole history of the Gracie family involved with that. 1993 is when Royce Gracie was showing the world the efficiency of jiu-jitsu, and at the same time, UFC was created by Quiggin Gracie. So all this together, and all this together attached jiu-jitsu to MMA big time, big time. And there was another thing too, another thing to be observed, man. Look, in every corner of the world, you will find a background of martial arts or combat sports that is striking oriented or takedown oriented, but you don't find it, even in these days, you don't find it jiu-jitsu everywhere. You have Sambo, who has a lot of elements of the ground, and you have Judo, who has the elements of the ground, but there is limitations for time because of the rules. But you aim to teach the ground. You will be able to teach you. It's very rare that you're going to be able to win an MMA fight without having jiu-jitsu knowledge nowadays. You may not be proficient, but you have to know the escapes. You have to know that it exists. At the time, nobody knew it would exist. People are getting caught in arm bars, and we're like, what happened to me? Even, especially the crowd. 1993 was the introduction of jiu-jitsu to the world. And Royce, in my opinion, has everything to do with that. Royce and the Gracie family there, So there is this big link between jiu-jitsu and MMA. But don't forget this, MMA came way later. Before it was Vale Tudo and No Holds Barred, and MMA came later.
Yeah, I mean, there was bare-knuckle boxing in the 1800s. I mean, we're going way back. So, we talk about, the evolution, and it's really like, to sit back and just go, a mixed martial arts promotion was created by a jiu-jitsu family. Should blow everyone's mind.
That's true. And that is true. And it created this, and this was really mold on the old days of Vale Tudo on the 50s and 40s, where they're picking backgrounds to compete and to show the proficiency of the sport. So in Brazil, they have this many different events of jiu-jitsu against karate, jiu-jitsu against capoeira, jiu-jitsu against judo, jiu-jitsu against boxing. And that was always a background against a background. Of course, there was no mixed martial arts. Nobody was really trained in mixed martial arts. And 1993 is when exposure to the world came in, and everybody said, man, I got to learn this. I have to learn this. There's no way not to learn this. And now everybody knows. But at the time, there was a lot of surprise. It makes a difference.
So what was it like for you in 1993, being a black belt and seeing Royce do this, and knowing why this is working and how this is working?
Yeah, but you see, for us, to have a great understanding, the scenario in 1993 of a Vale Tudo in Brazil was different than the rest of the world. So the rest of the world, the one got introduced to the Vale Tudo through UFC, for us was already something that was already happening. We knew it. At least the strategy of jiu-jitsu, take down, go to mount, go submission, rear naked chokes, things like that. But you see, for me particularly, Liborio, I work in a bank. I was a manager in a bank. I was, I went to school, went to college, and this has made a huge difference. I was sponsored by the biggest bank in Brazil, called Bank of Brazil. And one of the Vale Tudos that started coming in, especially because of 1991. Don't forget this. Do you remember when this thing was televised and on prime time TV, and everybody, and the next day we're talking about how this is human cockfighting, this is worse than dog fighting, blood everywhere. It's so violent. This is savage. So the association with Vale Tutor, for me, it's something that I couldn't do it. Because otherwise I would lose my job.
Oh my gosh.
You know? Yeah, it was something at that terms. And you could not associate your image to Vale Tutor. It was completely straight to like I said, it's really, really savage. People couldn't understand how it was. And I can see, I understand why in the beginning. Imagine that. You know, it's almost like right now people are talking about bare knuckle fighting, but like you said, since 1800s this thing exists. Every fight in a street is most like bare knuckle fight, right?
Yeah. Nobody's going, hold on. Let me lace up the gloves.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, exactly. But people see this right now and say, man, this is savage. Look at those guys. They get it cut very easy. This is how people get used to in the future, you know? But I think, like we're saying about this, right, Matt, is this natural instinct of humanity of dealing with those basic survival instincts and go to the prime era of prehistoric era, whatever it is that you call it, when humanity was really able to think. That's always something to be disposed, right? I mean, how many times you see a teenager boy getting into a fight, or just to stand up for the honor, or to show off? You see this a lot. It's a basic instinct to primates, I think, you know, alpha male type of thing. So I think it's always going to be there in a way. You know, you got to control to avoid this to turn into violence. That's why sometimes when you go to a martial arts school, if you have a good environment and good instructors, people will mold you into control this. You know, if you don't have it any, you learn how to have a little. If you have too much, you know how to control it, and condense this thing. So it is important. You know, if you don't think it's important, you really actually avoiding also the same way that the Second Amendment is there. You know what I'm saying? All these things here are, what's the amendment to talk about the guns? Your right to bear guns.
Yeah, right to bear arms.
Is it bear arms? Yes, there you go. It's a basic instinct of a self-protection. You know, I mean, I think I'm going too deep in the psychology of these things here, but if you don't believe it 100% of that, you may never use it, but it's definitely is good to be prepared for than not.
No, and there's
and in reality, yeah.
There's so many things, like you said. It's not just, jiu-jitsu itself isn't just a martial art. It's a teaching experience. It's a learning experience. It's a humbling experience because, as you grow, I've had a blue belt for 4 months, like 3 months, 4 months. You have to get into the mentality of you're going to get beat by a white belt. You're going to get beat by a black belt. Yeah. It's going to happen. And it's how you react to that. And most of the time what I'm doing is I'm not beating myself up. I'm telling that person, like, wow, that was really good. Or, like, I had a white belt the other day, and she's been training for like a month. And she had some of the strongest pressure I've ever felt. Ever. And I told her that, and she goes, you're just saying that. And I said, you don't understand. Like, this isn't a sport where we lie to you. This isn't an art form where we lie to you because you're not going to get better if we do that.
That's true. That's true. There's one thing, too, that people talking about, and this is important even for school owners, it is to ask also. There's people with natural instincts and natural athletic ability. But put it this way, a lot of people say, have you ever done martial arts before? Have you ever done jiu-jitsu before? No, I have never. But you have 4 years of wrestling. Mm-hmm. Which it makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference. A white belt for 4 years of wrestling is not the same as a plain black belt or a white belt.
No.
And that's important. It's important to notice. But the most important thing I believe is when you're training, just make sure that you use this as therapy, you know. But you're talking about losing it and everything. If you just go with the idea of just a competition, and I'm not saying for guys that go to compete, it doesn't get to the state of mind of competition, which is different.
Mm-hmm.
You got to compete. You want to be the best. You got to do everything in your power to improve and be better and better and be competitive. But if you're doing this, man, for the reason that you want to improve your mental health, you want to improve your physical health, you want to improve your spirit. And I'm talking about spirit. It's not religion. I'm talking about spirit. Like spirit is a connectivity with the environment that you feel like you belong, or you feel like you're happy about it. But you know that environment you're walking in, and you feel like, man, this is cool. This is my house. This is a place that I wanted to be in it. You know, I consider that spiritual, man. You know, I consider that something that you can't explain.
No.
Why? But if you're in the right environment, man, I'm like, man, I can't go back there again. I have this great workout. This is good for my mind. It's good for my body, and it's good for me to pursue happiness. You know, so don't be so attached of winning and losing. If you're going to win, you're going to lose. You know, it's matter of time. If you're 6 months into jiu-jitsu, the guy is going to come for the first day. He's going to get his share of getting beat up. And all these little things that's important to know. That's part of the game. It's part of everything. But create this attachment to this therapy, and then you know, you go to a place to feel better. You go to a place. It's almost like, for me nowadays, it's almost like putting minutes of lifespan. You know, it's almost like every time you train, you kind of gain health and you live a little bit longer. You know, I feel like, oh man, I put in a little coin on the lifespan. You know, and it's a different reasons why I'm doing this. I went to competition. I competed in high level, and it was pretty different. I have a lot of beat up in my body because of that. But nowadays it's all about the holistic, the well-being, you know.
And I love that approach. I mean, I think that was probably the coolest way to explain it, because you're absolutely right. You know, you go into jiu-jitsu, you're not going in there to beat somebody up. You're not going in there to get beat up. It could happen, but you are putting those moments. It is your therapy. You walk into that gym, everything that's going on outside, whether it's your personal life, your work life, the world, everything goes away.
Yeah.
And you walk out of there, and if you don't walk out of there and you feel great, you're like, well, I got to go back tomorrow. Like, you gotta do it, and you have to cleanse your mind and, you know, really do that. Because that's me. Like, I don't like waking up early on a Saturday morning, but I love going to class on Saturday morning. So it's one of those things where it's like, get up, go to class, go, and I feel great for the rest of the day. I might not feel great tomorrow, but I'll feel great today.
Matt, that's it, man. I rarely see. You can get beat up, but I rarely see a person after a good day of training, a good workout, don't feel better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't feel better. You have to be so extremely competitive also, which I understand. If you want to win, if you have heavy goals, competition coming in. But if you go for training and the environment is right, and the people they're training with you have the same mindset as you, to get that as therapy.
Yeah.
You know, the good thing about jiu-jitsu is that jiu-jitsu can be put in a game. If you go to training and you know that in training you have a score system from a takedown of 2 points and pass the guard 3 points, and from the side control you go to the mount is 4 points, you take the back is 4 points, and you go a sweep is 2 points. You know, all these little step by steps that define the score system, it turns into a game. So now you fall inside a guard. You know you have to pass the guard to get 3 points on it. And when it turns to a game and you competing on position, the time passes and you really doing a workout with the game. You know what I'm saying? It makes more appealing. And
I think I'm going to start trying that.
Right?
I mean, that sounds fun.
So, it is. And I just enjoying it. I'm just enjoying it. There's another thing about jiu-jitsu is if you have done in Muay Thai, if you have done in boxing, if you have done wrestling, there's a couple of these combat sports that's too hard in the body. I'm talking about training for competition. If you train for competition, if you train for competition for anything, definitely you're going to get hurt, right? You're going to be. But jiu-jitsu is one of the only martial arts sports there that you can train after a long day of work. You spend 8 hours working, and you go there at night, and you just put a couple rolls in, and you feel healthy, you feel better. Now, if you do this in wrestling, man, it's hard. It's hard to body. If you do Muay Thai, of course you can still punch in the bag, and you're not going to spar it every day, of course. But even punching the bag or punching the mitts, it may hurt. I don't know. I'm not saying this is that you can get a controlled roll in jiu-jitsu without really getting hurt, you know? And you can push a little bit more, push a little bit lower. All this is it's making a great workout. It's a therapy into it, you know?
Well, and I told somebody a few weeks back, it was one of those situations where, you know, they had that mindset where I keep losing, and I go, every second you're on that mat, whether you're going at 100% or you're going at 10%, you're still on the mat. You're still learning something. Your body is learning something, even if your head isn't. You know, pulling a sweep that you were taught 6 months ago, and you don't know how you did it, but your body did.
Imagine this. There is not bigger lesson to teach a kid or an adult that if you're not winning, but you keep coming and you keep it in effort. I'm not talking about stupid things or I'm not talking about trying the same thing over and over. But I'm talking about if you don't quit anything that you have in life that turns you into a success. Anything. Even a black belt. You're a white belt. You're getting beat up. You don't have that athletic ability. But if you keep coming day after day after day, whoever is teaching that class, man, it will see something in you that's a special. Because that's the key for success of anything, is to come back in the next day. Is to overcome the losses, or overcome the frustration of feelings or anything. You just come back in the next day. You come back the next day. You come back the next day. That itself is the best lesson you can teach your kids. Because that's the key for success of anything.
Yeah.
Because if you don't come back in the next day, one day is super good, other day super bad. If you don't come back in the next day when you're in low, I'm telling you this. If you quit and every time that something is bad, man, you're going to have problems in life.
Yeah.
Anything you do that you take a stance, you're going to have problems. You're going to have competitors. You're going to have haters. You're going to have a lot of people in your way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the only way that you don't have any kind of problems is if you just don't do anything, and with your life and in your life. If you want to take a job position, if you want to open your business, if you want to do something for your community, you're gonna get some hate for it. Believe me in what I'm saying. You know, and we see it nowadays. You see it nowadays, in the days of the social media, that it's so easy to sit down behind and create a different profile and hate on people just because probably because your life is miserable. You know, I'm just saying that it's not anything you do, you're going to have conflict.
Yeah.
You got to be ready for it.
And I think it helps prepare you mentally for that, for conflict in life.
Oh, 100%. 100%. 100%. You just keep you in a position, man, of a state of understanding that life is going to have some difficult times. And if you quit every time that somebody mount you or you tap on it, if you quit on things like that, you're probably going to be quitting on the smallest things in your personal life. Every time that something doesn't go well with your girlfriend, every time that your boss says something to you, every time that when you try to open a business, something came up and a problem arises and you quit, you're going to be a quitter. Basically, it's a habit.
Mm-hmm.
It's a habit. So that's itself to come back the next day, it makes you a success.
Absolutely.
And people respect that. A coach respect that a lot. If you got beat up and you come back the next day, people respect you a lot because of that.
They see that.
Yeah.
And I think you were talking about, the importance of coaches and how they coach, and not just, how they coach, how they teach, not just the adults, but the kids. So, how important that is to, not so much, I don't want to use the term baby them, but approach them in the right manner to develop them properly.
Yeah, what we're talking about is there a gap, especially in jiu-jitsu, is the lack of information from a lot of the coaches. What that means. What that means is this. Majority of jiu-jitsu transition from high-level competitors to be a coach. But in between that, there is a huge gap. That is an information gap. It's pedagogy. It is nomenclature for positions. It is to break down concepts. All this to be taught. So in the time for you to pass information, you just don't show it in a position and ask people to mimic.
Mm-hmm.
You break down a concept is pretty different than show it, and you whistle out, and people just in time just keep repeating over and over and over. The drill is going to be important, but you have to understand that, okay, the concept of this position includes distance, includes angles, includes levels,
includes
pressure,
body type.
Exactly. That's all this. All this is important. So we need to form better instructors so everybody has a better concept. You talk about the kids. There's different and age groups of kids that really makes the way you teach very special and very particular. You cannot teach a kid who are 5, 6 years old same way you're going to be teaching an 80-year-old.
No.
You're not going to get their attention. You're not going to. You can't babe them too much. And at the same time, with 5 years old, 6 years old, everything is wow. You make a big deal about it. You have a certain tone in your voice.
Mm-hmm.
All this is very important to be taught to the instructor. You got to bring them into the level of the kids instead of be talking as an adult. But if you talk babish with a 13-year-old, they're not going to be wanting to be in your class.
No.
All this is super important. How to pass the message, and at that age group. 5 to 6 years old, they already have a certain instructor. They're just learning from school that you have to respect space, you have to respect authority, you have to respect, but they're still learning how to do this. The authority that they have is the first thing is mommy. So that mommy, and think about the hugs, and all this has to be taught when you're teaching kids. And the values is much more important, in my opinion, than just the positions and the technique. Okay, you have a kid who is a stud. He knows a lot of technique. He's been doing things that he's doing bidding bolo with 7 years old. All this is super cool. But what a parent wants to do it, and what I think is important for the kid's life, is how the message of respect, of discipline, all the message of self, of self-discipline is being passed on. How the teacher is talking to him, it makes him understand that You have to respect people. And why to respect people? You know, why to respect people? Why respect elders? Why to respect property of others? Your own things. How to respect, you know, community.
Mm-hmm.
How to respect laws and all those little things but if you don't know how to pass this message, man, the things just keep being lost. And look, in martial arts, you talk a lot about respect. You talk about a lot about respect in martial arts, but people are failing in a certain way in passing the message of why. You know?
You know why it's exactly why it's that way.
Yeah. So I'm very passionate about this because I think this is the next step for the sport to spread out in a very, you know, a very much more organic way. People has to be taught how to teach, and that's something that I'm working on it, and I'm working for myself, and I'm helping other people with that too. You know.
Well, and we're gonna save that for part 2, but there's one thing I want to show you.
Sure.
Do you recognize this?
What is this? Oh, yes, I gave you that.
I refuse to spend this. I refuse to spend this.
This is so cool.
So, to anyone who doesn't know, that was the first time I met you. And we were talking about MMA history, and you placed $5 on the table that I was wrong. And we have been friends ever since. Man. So that's one of my favorite things. God. So I figured you'd appreciate that. I made sure I had it ready for you.
Man, I appreciate you a lot, man. You're a great guy, man. I really like to be around when you're around. We always have this good connectivity. This is awesome, man. Just keep doing this beautiful job. Just keep supporting the industry. Just keep supporting good guys. You know, we want the sport to inspire people, change people, and you have a big job doing this. You know, doing the way you're doing right now.
Well, I appreciate you. So on behalf of Combat Press,
I do have to go.
Epic Jiu-Jitsu,
I have to go right now. I'm teaching a class right here. I'm right here in front of the Elemental Jiu-Jitsu. The guys are waiting for me there in front of me.
Well, tell them it's for a good cause.
Okay.
So on behalf of myself, Quiggin Out MMA Podcast, Epic Jiu-Jitsu, Combat Press, thank you, Professor. Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome, man. Man, good to see you. Okay? Right. Take care, guys. Ciao, ciao.